بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We usually use this time before Salat al-Jum'ah to answer questions that have been submitted online. If you're interested in having your question answered, you can go to hijrah.info, that's hijrah.info/QA. Is it haram to play music? For example, I play the violin. Now, this is an old issue of khilaf. It's not something that is recent. You have many classical scholars who've spoken on this issue. A lot of them, the strongest proof for this issue, or the strongest proof for this discussion, is in the hadith in Bukhari, that there will come a time where الناس يستحلون. And the reason that I use this term يستحلون, or how it's translated to make halal, is that they will drink alcohol, they'll play music, etc. Right? This is the entirety of the hadith. And this is the strongest proof for the people that say it is muharram. This is the strongest proof for the people that say that it is impermissible to play musical instruments. There are other proofs that people use. So some people use verses from the Quran, saying like lagul hadith, and they'll use other very vague proofs which aren't as strong. I think that this hadith is the strongest proof concerning the issue. So there are a number of issues of using this as a proof. For those that do use it as a proof, that's fine. You know, if you don't want to engage with it and you think music is haram, I think that's a completely reasonable opinion, and there are a number of scholars that will support you and a number of scholars that will back you. Now, for those scholars that say that no, this is not a strong proof, there are a number of reasons that they say it's not a strong proof. Number one, they say that Imam Bukhari, the way that he uses this hadith, is there are two ways Imam Bukhari narrates a hadith in his Sahih. One of those ways is that he'll have a connected chain from him all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. And if he does that in his Sahih, that means that this hadith to me is according to and it fulfills my conditions. The second type of hadith that Imam Bukhari brings in his Sahih, where he will not have a complete chain, he'll have an incomplete chain, meaning that the hadith won't start at him. He'll say that so-and-so said, and then that chain will go back to the Prophet ﷺ. So it's important to keep these two issues and these two ideas in mind when we deal with the hadith in Sahih Bukhari. This hadith is of the second type. This is one that does not have a complete connected chain. This is something that is known as a chain that is mu'allaq, or a hanging chain. Why? Because it is not complete to Imam al-Bukhari. Meaning that this hadith I'm including here, I'm putting it, but it is not up to my standard and it is not up to my condition. The second proof, Imam Bukhari, how does he use this hadith in Sahih? He says, Bab Tahrim al-Khamr. He uses it for the chapter that is the prohibition of khamr. And had he meant and had he wanted to show that this hadith is a proof for the prohibition of music, he would have stated that. He would have used it for that reason. But that's not the reason that he used it. There's another hadith that's very similar in its wording that is mentioned in, I believe, Ibn Abi Hatim. He mentions it. In that similar wording, it's actually much clearer what the intention is that people, while they're drinking alcohol, they're playing music. So the prohibition, again, it's not about playing music. The prohibition is about drinking alcohol, which is why Imam Bukhari used it the way that he did. So again, this is the strongest proof concerning this issue, and this is why you have khilaf. Now, the other points that I think are important, for the things that are haram in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them abundantly clear. Is there any doubt on the prohibition of backbiting? Is there any doubt on the prohibition of lying? Is there any doubt on the prohibition of zina or stealing, right, or murder? All of these things are 100% clear. Would it make sense? And again, this is the argument. Would it make sense for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to prohibit something and then there be khilaf on that prohibition? Right? That doesn't sit well. And there are things that are clearly obligated. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated the 5 daily prayers. There's no doubt on that. There's no like, oh, maybe it's only 4 prayers, right? Like there's something that's 100% clear, and we know that there are 5 daily prayers and these are obligated, the zakat, saum, hajj, etc. So this is a secondary argument to this issue, that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends to obligate something, or if He intends to prohibit something, then He makes that abundantly clear. So I would say that these are the two major opinions concerning this issue. And even concerning music, you have an entire spectrum. You have an entire spectrum, meaning that you have some scholars who will say that, okay, no, it's only certain instruments that are prohibited. You have some scholars who say, no, the instruments are fine. There has to be a regulation on the music and the lyrics that are being used. And then I would argue, if that is the argument, that the prohibition is on the lyrics, the same prohibitions apply to speech. Right? The same prohibitions apply to our interaction and how we speak and how we talk to one another. So, like I said, these are the two major opinions on the issue. Regarding for the individual who says that they want to play a violin, you'll have a number of scholars that will say that this is something that is completely permissible and something that's completely jaiz, and others that will say that it is prohibited. I am personally of the opinion that it is permissible. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin, nabiyana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.